having said I was going to dig this room here, and I have done that, but quite some time has passed since I was last recording this. I do believe that now... Oh, this is off, I didn't know that. I do believe that now we are a week afterwards. It's a week later, at least, since I was last recording this. And that's just mainly been due to the fact that I've been busy with other stuff, and things have just not really happened for me this week. But I was working quite heavily on getting this done while I had some free time, and now it has been completely dug. It's still a bit of a mess yet. There's a lot of slimes around, which sort of is annoying, but I do have a fix for that. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So how's it doing here then? Just a couple of bones and stuff. There's an ender pearl there. That's useful. So we're down at Y6. Enderman die on this layer. So that's good. I got it mixed up before where the 40 block drop leaves them one punch away from death. But the 42 is enough to kill them outright. So we do have now a fully dug pit. It does need, as I say, some work. Those slimes are so annoying and off-putting, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that at the moment, unfortunately. So my plan now is I need to clean up the walls in here. You can't really see it. I'm actually going to go ahead and make some night vision potions. You can see the dark room working there. I'm going to get some night vision potions together to clean up the walls and sort of fill in where that ravine is with smooth stone and kind of complete it all. And then I've got to work on the collection area. Now, as I was building this, it occurred to me I don't have a lot of room. And that's the frame rate dip there. Is this being used? Let's turn it off for now. So, I don't have a whole lot of room down here. We're at Y6. The bedrock starts at Y5. So, getting the rail line down, still having all the mobs die, and getting all of it crammed in, particularly with a filter as well, is kind of difficult at that height. So what I thought I would do instead is actually use regular hoppers that just point towards the front and then go off to the side and into a sorting system and then up a minecart array or whatever at the end to bring it into the storage system. Now that led me to working on the project integration again, and I was able to save some hoppers. I came up with a design in creative mode for something else completely that could be applied here. And what I did is I set up a item filter that actually worked. I was having some trouble when I did it before actually getting an item filter to work correctly, but I do have a working one now, as you can see here. And it's probably similar to most other item filters that you've seen. The only real addition that this has is the ability to be used next to each other, which is something the other one couldn't do. Now, with this setup here, I have tested it with multiple items and it does work just fine. We've got the standard 18 items in each, carrots and potatoes here, and then this one I believe is vines. Yeah, there we go. So I designed this, and what I was able to do is, before I had 3 chains of hoppers leading from each farm, I was able to condense it into just one, and I kind of have cleaned up the walls here and so forth, which is something I wanted to do anyway. So now this is 100% complete, and let me see if I can find a connection here. See here? This is a connection into the main tube. I think there's another one down there as well. So that was able to save me over 2 stacks of hoppers, which I can now repurpose for the bottom of the dark room. So what I intend to do now is brew up some night vision potions, and I also want to brew up some instant health, as I've been using my zombie spawner quite a bit, being as it's just close, geographically speaking, to where I'm doing all my work. It made more sense just to spend time AFKing at that than running all the way to the spider farm and back again every time I needed to repair my pick, which was quite a few times actually, all told, probably 8 or 9 times while I was digging this room. I guess I can show you the hole though. That's one thing I haven't done while digging this. I wonder where it's at. This is all cobblestone that I need to move. We got 14 diamonds as it stands. I've used a few though. This is all loot from leaving the dark room on while I was digging it. I did have a stack of redstone blocks at one point, but I've used some in various different projects since then. mainly preparing equipment for the item filter and so on. And I got a lot of coal, as you can see. Almost 2 stacks of coal blocks. Probably will be 2 stacks of coal blocks by the time I'm 100% done with it. 51 iron blocks. I think some of this, though, was already here. I can't be 100% sure, though, on that. A little bit of gold. Not too hot on the gold, it has to be said. I think I've got some lapis out of it. Yeah, you can see I've also got a lot of emeralds. So, my other plan is to finish off this corridor here as well. And get that lever in a better position than where it is now. Probably hooked up to a nice control room, maybe somewhere in here. And I need to move all this cobblestone out of the way. And I'm thinking, for right now, I'm just going to move it to the bulk storage area I have down in my branch mines. And then probably move it again later into the proper bulk storage area. Now, another thing I've noticed, which is becoming a persistent problem that I'm going to need to fix, and I'm not sure if we're going to do this off camera or not, is on the floor below here, slimes constantly spawn, and it drives me nuts. And I do have a fix for it. My fix for this setup is to actually put a glass floor in, similar to the floor above, like the same style and pattern, but I'm actually going to, instead of just using the clay, I'm going to use stained glass, and that should hopefully slow down the slime spawn rates a bit. I definitely don't need a slime farm. I have enough slime balls now already that's going to last me, so I'm probably not too worried. And if that still is a problem, there's still slimes everywhere, I'll probably dig some empty rooms and light them up in slime chunks just to take the weight off of the spawning, because they're all spawning in this area. So the plan is, right now, off camera, I would like to spend some time, as I say, cleaning up the walls. That's pretty boring stuff. And I'll probably set up the hoppers down there. And then maybe we'll come back and I'll do a bit of redstone with you guys, and we'll look at the item filter part of this and setting up the minecart array that goes into there. And I'm probably also off camera going to work on this setup here. And then maybe next episode... Well, actually, next episode I want to go caving. I want to cave around this area, try and get the dark room rates up a little bit. But after that, maybe we'll spend some time either working on that glass floor, or I know I do want to do some work on the surface again as well. So we'll just have to see, but there's plenty to do for right now. So I'm thinking the first thing I want to do is organize my inventory here. Get rid of this cobblestone. I'm going to brew up some potions and get the walls cleaned up, I think. That will be the next job to do. So, I'm going to get cracking with that, as there's plenty to do. So I will be back in a bit. Hopefully less than a week this time. Okay guys, so a little bit of time has passed since we were last together. And now, I have finished the collection zone down here. You can only really see it from up here, because when you get down there you have the bedrock fog and such to deal with. There's a baby zombie in there. So I've left the dark room running for a little bit. I'd say maybe running about 30 to 45 minutes total. Is the baby zombie going to fall out soon? I don't know. He'll probably finish himself up soon enough. So the collection system is now done. As I said to you before, I was going to have to use hoppers just because of the amount of height we have remaining. We're at Y6 right now. So this is what I went ahead and did. And saving that extra 2 stacks and a bit's worth of hoppers was definitely very useful. That got me about a third of the way total of all the hoppers. Then there's probably about 6 or 7 stacks worth of hoppers on this particular build here. So it was definitely worthwhile making that small improvement to my sorting system up there. So let's see what we got. Not too bad. This is a chicken jockey I killed at one point. I think they despawn now, although I'm not sure. Quite a few ender pearls, that's not bad. Bunch of zombie flesh, bit of gunpowder, some sort of witch drops from this, some arrows and bones. Glass bottles, that's definitely a useful one for sure. So that's not a bad haul, it has to be said. The fact that I've gone with hoppers versus minecarts means that I won't have that problem where sometimes they either get stuck and end up on the opposite tracks, and also it's a bit better as far as lag goes. You can sometimes get some frame dips through using lots of sort of mechanical things, if that makes sense. And by mechanical, I mean stuff like dropavators and mine carts and all of that sort of stuff, redstone clocks. It can be a bit laggy, so not having any lag from this is always a good thing. So now, all that really leaves is the final bit, and that is the sorting part to this. Now, this specifically is separate from this. As far as the dark room goes, the actual dark room is finished. This is a separate bit. This is going to be a sort of tool, if you will, that's going to make this a lot more useful. Oh, and by the way, I cleaned up the walls, as I'm sure you've already seen. So, with the sorting system, I actually went into a creative world, and we're going to jump over there and take a look at what I did, because I needed to do some figuring out with a few things. I actually had to make a minecart loader, and I've never made one before, so I felt that creative would probably be the better way to go. I've done unloaders, which we will also take a look at. But as it stands, all that's missing from this now is a system in this corner here that basically takes all the loot we get out of the dark room, the zombie flesh, the bones, the arrows, whatever it is, and deposits it in our storage room over here. And that's not as hard as you might think to do, and I'm definitely going to go for it because it's going to make everything I want to do down the road so much easier. I might also even consider using the witch drops to sort of automate a brewery system, possibly, or at least have ingredients ready to go. I actually have an idea in mind for my alchemy lab when I get around to building that, so maybe having a few automatic options there might be useful. For example, I won't have to put sugar in, because witches drop sugar. I think they drop gunpowder, redstone and glowstone would definitely be useful. So, we'll probably look into that, but for right now, the first thing I want to do is just get it hooked up to a point where the zombie flesh and the bones, arrows, ender pearls, and gunpowder go into their chests. So, let's hop over to the creative world that I have set up for this, and let's take a look at what I did. Okay, so we're here in my test world here, and you can probably actually see around various different bits and pieces to other parts of my lab base. Some of you may recognize this here from the farm stacks. Some early drafts of the farm stacks over there. The beginnings of a cactus farm. One thing I've started to do recently is actually experiment in creative. Because before, it took such a long time in survival mode to actually keep moving around a build. Sometimes it was better off to actually just try out things in creative and then sort of refine and complete in survival for my various builds. So we're going to be focusing on these sort of three things here. This we could ignore, that's irrelevant, that was for something else. So this here is a standard minecart unloader. This was kind of my starting point. So we'll also, while we're doing this, do a little bit of theory crafting, and I'll explain a little bit about how my thought process went into this, because it might be useful for you guys, so we'll also do that. So this was my starting point. This you will have probably seen across my world in other builds, particularly the gold farm. I have a bunch of these set up. So this here, you would have a minecart hopper or chest or whatever it is that you've got, and it would deposit the contents into the hopper, and then once the chest is empty, well, basically, once the minecart lands on here, items go into the hopper and then it turns off the powered rail, so it stays there until the hopper is empty. You would have this hooked up to another hopper and then that would go off to your sorting system. So, this was my starting point, and I was thinking about how I wanted to apply this into the darkroom trap that we have, and I needed two things. I came to a point where I was like, okay, I need a minecart loader to get the stuff out, and then I need a more advanced version of this as an unloader. Now in the end it didn't actually turn out to be all that more advanced as far as the unloading part goes, but the loading part was quite complex, and as I say, I've never made one of these before. Now, I did do a little bit of research online just to see if anyone had done anything like this before, and it turns out that there was a sort of a showcase slash tutorial of it, and it wasn't really a tutorial that I can get a lot from. It was one of those tutorials where the person doesn't speak, but it was enough, and it was a very useful one to get me a basic sort of design here, and I had to make some tweaks to this design that I saw in the video as it didn't actually work correctly for me. I'm not sure why that is. I might have messed something up, I don't know, but I've got it to a point now where it works. So this here is a minecart loader, and what that basically means is it's a system that lets me fill up a minecart chest like this handy dandy one here until it is full, and then when it is full it unloads, well, it lets it go, and then it goes on its journey. And if you were to think this was in our dark room, this rail would extend along, and then it would eventually meet up with this rail here. And this is like a cutaway of our storage system. So what this does is, well, let me show you first. Let's actually look at this in practice. So this minecart chest at the moment is full, and what this does here is the minecart would enter, say, after depositing everything, and it would be empty at that point. And then it would go into here, and the easiest way to show you that is to show you it when it's not full. So let's just do that. So it enters this zone here, and this is its fill-in station. This would be the end of our collection system in the dark room, and it would steadily fill up over time. And as you can see, there's a redstone line here that would eventually go to one of these. And I call this a circuit breaker. It has a proper name, but I'm just not sure what it is. I think that this particular variety is a T flip-flop, but this here is what I would call a circuit breaker, but I think it has another name. So we have a one-tick pulse emitted from this, and this, as many of you will know, with the sticky pistons causes it not to bring the block back. And we've got a block of redstone here that just activates this sticky piston here that holds the minecart chest in place. Now when it's full, the comparator will read that, and then it will send another pulse through here, bringing the redstone block back, removing this block here and letting it go on its way. And I can show you that very quickly by just doing this. As you can see, it goes back to where it was. So pretty simple all around. This chest here is kind of just surplus to requirements. That's just to indicate where stuff would be coming from. So this detector rail here, when a minecart rolls over it, activates the initial trigger there to lock it in place. So kind of complex in a way, but when you boil it down, it's not too bad. So this is going to be my minecart loader. I have to say, I was hoping to get it a bit more compact than this, and there may be ways of doing that, and I'm just unaware of it. I might have a go at trying to compact it a little bit. I don't know, for example, if, well, certainly you couldn't put anything there, but if I, say, pointed the block there, obviously got rid of that, whether then I could compact it a little bit, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, you could compact it that way. So, although it didn't kind of do what I wanted it to do, but maybe that's because, oh, yeah, there's no redstone block, of course. But anyway, I shouldn't really be messing around with this right now. Whoops. Because I'm just demoing. I shouldn't be trying to compact. That's what I do in survival mode. Whoops. So, you would want something a bit like that, so that when it comes in, gets locked into place. Although that doesn't actually work as intended, I don't think. Anyway, we'll move on here. Ah, there we go. So we'll move on. So if you think about this, and we've got our minecart chest fully loaded, like so, then he would go on his journey, and he would go all the way to our storage system. And remember what I said earlier in the video when I was talking about lag. I'll talk about that again in a minute as to why I'm actually using this versus some other methods. So it would arrive here, and this is just a basic unloader like we've got down there, and then this is just an item filter attached to the back of the chests here. So this is just an example for all the different loot that we would find. So it would get unloaded, Zombie flesh would go in there, bones, arrows, gunpowder, and then ender pearls. Now, if you are making an item filter, be aware that ender pearls do require less than the other types of items, because ender pearls only stack up to 16. So do bear that in mind. And then we have this chest here. This is for anything else. And in particular, this is for witch drops, because in my world, at least, the witch drops are not stored with all of this sort of stuff. They're stored in a separate block for alchemy. So I can't really do anything else with that. So for right now, and for the build in the survival world for now, I will just be having it deposited to a chest for the time being until I work out what I want to do with it, whether that be link it into my brewing station, or whether I just want to continue it around the storage room and then drop it off in the alchemy stuff. We'll just have to see. But getting back to the original point here, all of this is just an item filter that I don't believe that I invented this, but I needed to compact down another item filter. Do I have the other one set up somewhere? I might do. This was my original design when I compacted it down. I can't see it off the top of my head, so I might have to show you another day. But that one was the one I used in my cave spider trap that I had to compact, because I was trying that one for something else. I can't remember what it was now, but the big problem is all the stuff got jumbled up, so I had to invent a system that was a little bit better at only doing one item at a time, and that's what I did here. And this is actually specifically for my storage system, so that I have that little bit of extra room behind the chests, as to why I did this here with these hoppers and those. So this here is quite simple. It's just an item filter that when the minecart chest would be full would roll up onto this. Now, there could be a few flaws with this. Obviously, the most glaring one is there's not a system in place for overfilling. But honestly, I don't foresee myself getting, for example, 2 double chests worth of ender pearls. Gunpowder I'll probably be crafting into TNT/potions. Arrows, maybe. Bones, possibly. And rotten flesh, possibly. But if I got to a point where I had, you know, a double chest and a half, for example, well, yeah, a double chest and a half, so a double chest and a single chest worth of stuff, I'd probably turn the dark room off, to be honest. That's why I have the big on-off switch which controls the lighting for it. So this wouldn't become too much of a problem anyway, so I don't really feel the need to go to all the extra effort of implementing an overspill system, really. And that would be a lot more work on top of everything else that I've got to set up here. So that's the system as a whole. You could kind of imagine that these rails connect up together, and that would be the full system. Now, you may be asking at this point why I've chosen to do it this way with minecarts, bearing in mind what I said earlier about minecarts and lag. Up to now, everything that I've been doing integration-wise, I've done with hoppers, and there's a big reason for that. Everything has been going down in the world. Everything such as the netherwort, the potatoes, and the carrots were actually going down in the world. They were built on the surface, and then the storage room was obviously underground. Now, for the darkroom trap, the difference is that the darkroom trap is lower than the storage room. So I need a way that is relatively lag-free to get items upwards. And the only other option that at least I'm aware of in vanilla, aside from doing something like this, would be to use drop evators. And I personally hate them. I cannot stand them. A drop evator is one of these guys, by the way. They are very laggy. They are loud some of the time, unless you can get it like this, where it's a silent drop evator. And beyond that, it's very resource intensive, because each one of these requires 1 cobble and 1 redstone. Sorry, 8 cobble and 1 redstone. So I'm not a big fan of using these, and they really do hamper your frame rate because of the sound and the lighting updates and the actual action and so on and so forth. So I generally like to avoid them where possible, and my world is not doing too hot in the FPS anyway, thanks to the storage room and all the chests and the rest of it. So I would like to try and save some FPS where I can, and doing a system like this is going to prevent me having to do all of that. And even so, once I got it high enough, I'm still going to need to have hoppers everywhere, and it would become very expensive to do. And rails are cheaper than hoppers to make. They both require wood, but rails need sticks, and hoppers require iron. Well, hoppers require a chest, is what I meant to say. They both require iron, of course. But for example, it takes me 6 iron ingots and a stick to make 16 of these rails here, but it takes me 5 iron ingots and a chest to make 1 hopper. So it's a lot cheaper to use rails, and obviously detector rails and powered rails are kind of cheap for me. Particularly powered rails because I have the gold farm. So this is definitely the better way to go for me. Now, unfortunately, despite my hate for dropovators, I might still need one, because in our world, the big problem we have is how low it is, and there's bedrock around, and I might not be able to get all of this loading system in around the bedrock, because this is where things go in. I believe the bedrock would be at this layer in parts, so we could have a problem where I can't get all of this in. It's only a big deal sort of around this general area, because I could raise the minecart up as it ends its way out. Well, enters its way out and then up into this. So I have to say, I'm going to do some experimentation with that off camera. And I'm actually going to build this off camera, because it's going to be really difficult and really tedious being down at those low layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build all of this off camera, and then we'll show it working later on. That's my plan, at least. So I guess the only other drawback to this, if you wanted to use it, would be you would have to wait for the minecart to be completely full. That said, I can very easily just hop down to the bottom of the dark room and pick up bones or arrows or whatever it is that I happen to need before that gets full, if I need to. So honestly, I don't foresee myself needing that many of those supplies in bulk all the time. So I think that this is going to be a good solution to the problem that we have at the moment. And I think it'll be pretty useful, actually. I won't have to go wandering down all the time. And my dark room is designed to be an AFK farm, because of the frame rate dips it can cause and so on and so forth. It's designed to be used while you're not playing the game regularly. So this would also go on in the background just fine, and I wouldn't be waiting around for things to get delivered here. It would have already been done. So overall, I think this is going to be a good solution. I'm going to go ahead and try and implement this now into the LP world, and then I will be back after that, and I will show you it working, hopefully. So I will be back in a bit. Be quiet, slimes, be quiet! Ugh. Alright guys, so I'm back in the LP world here, and I think I've got it completely set up now. I haven't tested it yet, and there's one thing that I think is going to prevent it from working, and it's to do with this here, and I'll explain why in a moment. But before we do that, let me just take you over what I've done. So this is the minecart chest here, and this is our access route, and it actually turns out this is kind of, I guess, a coincidence, and it was very lucky that if I go all the way up here in a straight line from this corner, the actual loot deposit section where I have all of my mob drops is right here. So couldn't have got any better than that. I had to bring the minecart up and around though, just so that I could fit everything in, but that was not a problem. And got everything here. Now up here there is also string and slime balls, which I considered the same loot as the other mob drops, so I've just omitted the hopper setup for that, which is just fine. So all we need to do now is fill up the chest with stuff, and I think there's going to be one issue, and I've got a fix for it. So this chest here has certain items in it that we're never going to get a stack of. Glowstone, spider eyes, basically anything a witch drops. I mean, we could theoretically, but it would take such a long time, then there'd be no point having this system at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up as much as I possibly can, and hopefully we get enough items in there to just fill up all the slots. Do I have more dark room loot? Yeah, I have a little bit, but not much. So what I'm thinking here is, how full is this now? see, we're only up to here, and that chest is practically full. You know, there's 2 slots spare, and then that's it. So what I'm thinking is, we will send the chest up a little bit more frequently, so not when it is exactly full, but when it's pretty close to being full. So, if I throw in, I don't know, do we have any, like, stacks of items? Because all of these are just going to get sent to the random chest anyway. So let's just hypothetically do that. Where does that leave us at? That leaves us here. So how many would we be short at that point? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'd still be 7 short. It's not even halfway. Ideally, I'd like to let it get a bit more full than that. But it's looking pretty full as is. Like, there's a lot of bones, a lot of arrows in there. Ender pearls, probably not so much. Maybe that'll make it 8. Nope. So, I'm thinking we should probably just cut across, maybe, a little bit. Like, maybe right here would be a good place to just cut across. And for the test run, I'll probably just throw in a repeater for right now. Ideally, I'll be AFKing at this thing for a lot longer than I have been, so it won't be such a big problem there and then. See, that's still not going to be enough. That's only going to get me to there. So for this test run, I'm just going to throw in a repeater here. And let's see what it does. See if it works correctly. And if it does, then I think we'll probably wrap up the episode here. I do still need to do a bit of work around here. As you can see, the place isn't exactly what I would call safe. It's not convenient either. So I would like to try and see if I can figure that out. So we've got arrows going into there. That's not good. Oh, you know what? I know what's doing that. I didn't set up all the filters. Completely forgot about that. This is going to be a problem, isn't it? Can you get off of that, please? Thank you. Go back down there for now. You won't be considered full, although, you know what? You're going to come straight back. Because... oh, maybe you're not. Maybe you're not. I'm going to take that repeater out of the circuit, just in case. I didn't set up all of the filters. I had completely forgotten about that in figuring everything else out, that I never got around to setting up some of them, such as the zombie flash and a few other things. So as you can see, it's still a bit of a wreck around here, and I would like to make it more accessible. And let me tell you, the next thing I'm going to do in this sort of area is I'm going to glass off that floor. The slimes drive me insane in here. So what's that one? That's gunpowder. I did do that one. So we've got some arrows in there. I think that's all I did. So which one is arrows? Is it that one? Yeah, that one is arrows. So let me get the hoppers on the bar. Did I place that right? I'll double check. I don't want to have wrong placements throwing me off. So this one here, I believe, the one next to gunpowder, is arrows. Is it the one next to gunpowder? This is kind of tricky to do. That's gunpowder. So let me break that. Yeah, that is arrows. And I do know that zombie flash is the first one. So this one here is arrows. So let me throw in arrows. That one there is bones. Which we have some bones, thankfully. That's bones there. Although I think they're going to have a few issues, aren't they? Because I did too much at once. What's it doing now? It's getting, I think, a little bit confused with itself. So that's locked at the moment. That doesn't have enough in it. What's wrong with this? What's wrong here? A little bit of an error, it seems, in my design. So we've got 25 of those, whereas it should only be 18. That's working, and that's working just fine. That's 26, huh? We've got a little bit of an issue then to figure out here, because Things are not entering this correctly. So we've got to figure out why that is. Is there a repeater missing? Oh, there is. Look at that. So why is that the case then? Let me break this. Is there one there? No, there's a repeater here, isn't there? That's on 2 ticks. That shouldn't be a thing. Okay, I must have misplaced a repeater somewhere along the line. And that's, of course, facing the wrong orientation. It would have to be, wouldn't it? I guess I'll put that there, and I'll put that there. There we go. And this is just there for convenience, I guess. So, that's now done. What about this? There's not enough bones in there for that, so I'm going to need some more bones and some more zombie flesh still. So I'm going to have to run and go get those. This is never simple. There's things I forget about, always. But, it's how you learn things. Give me some more bones, some more zombie flesh, and I did do gunpowder, so I think we've done practically everything at this point. It's been a long time coming, but I think the start room is going to be worth it. The stuff it's going to give me access to is going to be just that much more awesome. I don't have to worry about bone meal anymore. I can make tons of TNT. I'm going to have ender pearls to use. So, bones. Okay, and now they're going down. So all we're going to be then missing is zombie flesh. Once the bones have moved into their correct place here. There we go, that's working, and we'll do zombie flesh. And that's now in place. So everything now should be in place. Did I put stone bricks under those? I did not, so I'm going to leave that as a reminder. I put stone bricks on everything like this just so that I know if I'm digging around in the area not to disturb it. Don't have anything in there. Everything's looking pretty good now, it has to be said. Yep. So let's head down here and hopefully this time, fingers crossed, it will work. So, how full is the minecart chest here? Still is full. Although it might be missing a few things here. Can I just top off something? Do I have anything lying around in here? Oh, there's all junk in here. Can't throw any more arrows in there. Do I have like some blocks or something that I could just throw in there to give it enough of an oomph? There we go. Any blocks or anything, all that's going to happen with those is that they'll just be put in the witch drops chest. Eventually there won't be anything to fall into it that there shouldn't be, so that will become the witch drops chest. For now it's just the bits left over chest, I guess you could call it. So let's head up here and see if it's working. It's taking loot, so that's a good sign. Oh yeah, look at that. Let's put in our bones in, and then it'll choose whatever's next on the list. What is next on the list? Gunpowder. Let's see if it's doing gunpowder correctly. The torch is off, and gunpowder's being delivered into the system. Oh, that's a trap chest, that's why that's not going up. It's part of my storage room design. So we'll do zombie flesh, and then I think at that point we'll also have sticks as well that we can check, see if they are working. Then we've got arrows, so let's see if zombie flesh is working. Sure is, look at that. Get rid of that arrow out of there. That would have been in there from before. So I'm pretty happy with this setup, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably one of my most favorite things in the base so far. Probably purely because I had to think up most of it on my own, to be honest here. Sticks, let's see if it's doing sticks correctly. While it's doing arrows, we can check that. So sticks went into the right chest. We'll check arrows here. Yep, arrows are going into the right place. So now I'm going to check ender pearls just to see about those, and then after that I think we've pretty much done everything as far as loot depositing goes. I mean, this is still a lot of loot in this minecart chest here, so I'm not too worried about having cut it down a little bit. So did that go into the ender pearls? Well, we won't be able to tell here. Sure did, look at that. So everything is working now. That makes me extremely happy. So pretty much now all that remains to be done here is kind of cleaning stuff up, blocking off caves so that slimes don't spawn all over the track and stop the minecart from doing its thing. But other than that, and also I've got to do some slabbing around here again. Other than that, I would say that's pretty much mission accomplished for the darkroom. That's basically everything I need to do with this, to be honest. It's been a long time coming. This video has spanned several weeks, I think now. We're probably into the second week that I was working on this. Mainly because I had to dig the big room out. But I think it's going to be worth it. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, guys, and I hope to see you next time. And speaking of next time, I think next time I'd like to take a little bit of a change of pace. And I think we're going to do some caving. Sort of improve the rates of the darkroom trap here. So I think we're going to do that ready for next time. But I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, guys. And I hope to see you in the next one. So until then, see you later. And have a good day.